You know that feeling when you've achieved everything you thought you wanted, but somehow ... you still feel empty inside. You got the promotion, the relationship, the house, the perfect Instagram life. But late at night, when the noise dies down, there's still that nagging sense that something's missing. Something fundamental. Here's the brutal truth nobody wants to admit. We're all walking around with a void inside us. And we're desperately trying to fill it with everything except the one thing that actually works. We pile on achievements, relationships, possessions, distractions. We become addiction machines, constantly seeking the next hit of external validation. But what if I told you there's a reason why nothing external ever fills that hole? What if the very act of looking outside ourselves for completeness is the exact thing keeping us incomplete? Today, we're diving deep into Carl Jung's revolutionary insight about why we feel broken and how to actually become whole. This isn't another self-help band-aid. This is about facing the uncomfortable truth of who you really are. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your current approach to happiness is sabotaging you and what it really takes to feel complete. From the inside out, let me paint you a picture. Sarah is 32, successful marketing director, beautiful apartment, travels twice a year, has 2,000 followers who think she's living the dream. But every Sunday evening, she sits on her couch scrolling through Netflix, feeling like she's starring in someone else's life. Does this sound familiar? This is what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. We think the next achievement, the next relationship, the next purchase will finally make us feel complete. But here's the kicker: it never does. Studies show that lottery winners return to their baseline happiness levels within just 2 years. 2 years. We're literally chasing mirages in the desert of our own consciousness. The void isn't a bug in the human system. It's a feature. It's your psyche screaming at you, hey, you're living as a fraction of who you really are. We've been conditioned to believe that wholeness comes from external sources. Society sold us this lie because it's profitable. A complete person doesn't need to constantly consume, achieve, and perform. But here's what nobody tells you. That emptiness you feel isn't a problem to be solved with more stuff. It's a compass pointing toward your authentic self. Every moment you spend trying to fill it with external things is a moment you're moving further away from actual fulfillment. Jung observed this pattern in thousands of patients. Successful people, wealthy people, famous people, all suffering from the same existential emptiness. Why? Because they were living from their ego, their social mask, their performance self. But the real you, the core you, was starving in the basement of your consciousness. Carl Jung spent his life studying one fundamental question: what does it mean to become a complete human being? His answer was revolutionary and deeply uncomfortable. Most of us never actually meet ourselves. We live our entire lives as strangers to our own souls. Jung called this journey individuation. It's the process of becoming who you actually are, not who you think you should be, not who your parents wanted you to be, not who society demands you to be. Your authentic, integrated, whole self. This isn't about becoming perfect. This is about becoming real. Think about it. How much of your day do you spend being genuinely you versus playing a role? At work, you're the professional. With friends, you're the fun one. With family, you're the responsible one. With your partner, you're the romantic one. But who are you when nobody's watching? Who are you in the silence of your own mind? Jung discovered that we develop what he called a persona, literally meaning mask in Latin. This persona isn't evil. We need it to function in society. The problem comes when we mistake the mask for our true face. When we become so identified with our social roles that we lose touch with our essential nature. The self, with a capital S, is Jung's term for your complete, integrated being. It includes everything you are, your light and your darkness, your strengths and your weaknesses, your conscious thoughts, and your unconscious drives. Most people spend their lives running from this completeness because it's terrifying to face the totality of who we are. But here's the paradox. Only by embracing your whole self can you ever feel truly complete. The void you're trying to fill isn't empty space. It's the parts of yourself you've been refusing to acknowledge. Now we're getting to the uncomfortable part. Jung identified what he called the shadow, all the parts of ourselves we've deemed unacceptable and shoved into the basement of our consciousness. Your anger, your selfishness, your petty jealousies, your weird desires, your failures, your fears, everything you don't want others to see, everything you don't want to admit about yourself. Here's the mind-bending truth. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's your missing pieces. Every time you say, "I'm not that kind of person," or "I would never do that," you're probably looking at your shadow. And every disowned piece of yourself becomes a source of that inner emptiness you're trying to fill. Let me give you a real example. John prided himself on being a nice guy. Never got angry, always helpful, always agreeable. But he was secretly resentful, passive-aggressive, and felt powerless in his relationships. His shadow contained his healthy anger, his ability to set boundaries, his natural assertiveness. By rejecting these parts of himself, he became incomplete, weak, and ultimately not very nice at all. Your shadow shows up in your triggers. What makes you irrationally angry? What do you judge most harshly in others? These are clues to your disowned parts. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. That person who annoys you with their confidence, that's probably your disowned power. That person you judge for being too emotional, that's your rejected sensitivity. The tragedy is that we spend enormous energy keeping our shadow hidden, even from ourselves. But this energy could be used for creativity, for growth, for actually living. Instead, we're like people trying to drive a car with the handbrake on, wondering why we're not getting anywhere. Integration isn't about becoming your shadow. It's about acknowledging it, understanding it, and consciously choosing how to express these energies constructively. When you stop running from your darkness, you stop being controlled by it. So how do you actually do this work? How do you move from fragmented to whole? Jung's path isn't easy, but it's surprisingly practical. It starts with brutal honesty about your unconscious patterns. First, pay attention to your projections. What you strongly dislike or admire in others often reflects your own disowned qualities. That colleague you think is too ambitious. Maybe you've disowned your own drive. That friend who seems so confident. Perhaps you've rejected your own natural authority. Your emotional reactions are a GPS system pointing toward your unconscious content. Second, dialogue with your dreams. Jung believed dreams were letters from your unconscious, showing you exactly what you need to integrate. Start keeping a dream journal. Ask yourself, what is my psyche trying to tell me? Dreams often feature exactly the qualities or situations we're avoiding in waking life. Third, embrace your vulnerabilities consciously. Instead of hiding your insecurities, acknowledge them. I notice I'm feeling jealous right now. I'm aware I want attention in this moment. I can see I'm being controlling. This isn't self-attack, it's self-awareness. You can't integrate what you won't acknowledge. Fourth, practice what Jung called active imagination. Dialogue with the different parts of yourself. What does your inner critic need to tell you? What is your creative self longing for? What does your angry self want you to know? These aren't mental disorders. They're natural aspects of a complex psyche. The goal isn't to eliminate your challenging aspects. It's to relate to them consciously instead of being unconsciously driven by them. When you integrate your shadow, you don't become evil. You become complete, authentic, and paradoxically, much more loving. Here's the final piece that changes everything. Wholeness doesn't mean having no problems. It means having a conscious relationship with all parts of yourself. It means accepting your human contradiction, your beautiful messiness, your complex truth. Complete people aren't perfect people. They're integrated people. They know their shadow and choose how to work with it. They acknowledge their persona without being trapped by it. They live from their authentic self while functioning skillfully in the world. This is why external achievements never fill the void. You can't become whole by adding more to your life. You become whole by accepting what's already there. Every part of you that you've rejected is a piece of your puzzle sitting in the wrong box. Integration means putting these pieces back where they belong. When you stop fighting aspects of yourself, something magical happens. The energy you were using for internal warfare becomes available for creative living. You stop needing external validation because you're not rejecting yourself internally. You become naturally attractive because you're not performing. You're just being genuine. Jung spent his life proving that our greatest wounds often contain our greatest gifts. Your sensitivity isn't weakness, it's your capacity for deep connection. Your anger isn't evil, it's your healthy boundary-setting energy. Your fear isn't cowardice, it's your wisdom about real dangers. Your darkness isn't your enemy, it's your depth, your richness. Your humanity. The people who feel most complete aren't those who've eliminated their flaws. They're those who've learned to dance with their whole selves. They've stopped trying to be perfect and started being real. And in that realness, they found the fullness they were always seeking outside themselves. This is the path Jung mapped for us. Not perfection, but integration. Not elimination of the uncomfortable, but conscious relationship with all of who we are. So here we are. You've just discovered why nothing external has ever filled that void inside you. It's because the void isn't empty. It's full of rejected parts of yourself waiting to be reclaimed. Every time you try to fill it with achievements, relationships, or possessions, you're looking in the wrong direction. Jung's message is both challenging and liberating. You already have everything. You need to feel complete. It's just scattered across your conscious and unconscious mind, waiting for you to put the pieces back together. The journey isn't about becoming someone new. It's about becoming authentically, courageously yourself. This work isn't easy. It requires facing parts of yourself you'd rather ignore, accepting parts of yourself you'd rather change, and integrating parts of yourself you'd rather disown. But the alternative is spending your whole life feeling like something's missing, trying to fill an unfillable void with temporary pleasures. Your completeness isn't out there waiting to be earned. It's in here waiting to be acknowledged. Stop running from yourself and start running toward yourself. The void you've been trying to fill is actually the doorway to your wholeness. If this video helped you see something new about your own journey toward integration, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more content about becoming authentically human. And tell me in the comments, what aspect of your shadow are you most afraid to acknowledge? Your courage to be real might inspire someone else to do the same. Remember, you're not broken and you don't need fixing. You just need integrating. And that journey starts right now, right here, with exactly who you already are.